Hello and welcome back to Every Problem. This is Stewart Calculus 8th edition, section 2.3, problem number 21. For problem 21, we need to find the limit as h approaches 0. And as we see, we run into this 0 over 0 issue again. If we plug in 0 here, we get square root of 9, which is just 3. So 3 minus 3 is 0, all over, 0. So we have to figure out how to get rid of this 0 over 0. Now, there are a lot of different ways to go about limit problems, but one of the most common things that you will see anytime you have square roots with fractions, anytime that happens in limit problems, usually, not always, but usually, you need to multiply by the conjugate. And that will help alleviate whatever problem you have. And so what does that mean? I'll show you. So in this case, I see that we have a fraction, and I see that we have a square root with our fraction. So, like I said, most of the time, for basic limits like this, you'll have to multiply by the conjugate. So let's write our problem here. We have 9 plus h minus 3 all over h. And, well, a good rule of thumb is to try to figure out how to get rid of our square roots, or just some way to make this easier to work with. And unfortunately, there's nothing that makes this easy just by some intuition. You really just have to practice many different limits and see them solved in different ways. So don't worry if this isn't something that you just saw instantly. It was definitely something that I never thought of until someone showed me when I was learning these. Now, what we're going to have to do is we multiply by square root of 9 plus h plus 3 for the numerator and the denominator. So that means that we are technically multiplying by 1, right? Because if I have square root of 9 plus h plus 3 all over that same thing, that's technically just multiplying by 1. And so that's perfectly okay to do. So what happens is, if you look at this top term, this is a clever way to go about these, because this top term here, if I were to label the 9 plus h as x and the 3 as y, then notice what we are going to make on top is a sort of a difference of squares. So I have x minus y times x plus y, and that always gives us x squared minus y squared. And so that means that on the numerator, we are going to have 9 plus h quantity squared minus 3 quantity squared all over h times root 9 plus h plus 3. And you'll see why this multiplying by the conjugate thing is so helpful, is because this, there we are. This plus 3 on the denominator is really going to save us. So let's clean up the numerator a little bit. Now we've got 9 plus h, because it just cancels out the square root, minus 9 all over h times root 9 plus h plus 3. Okay. So what do we see here? We see that the 9's undo each other because we have 9 plus h minus 9. And so that leaves us with h over h times root 9 plus h plus 3. Okay, we still have a little bit of a problem because as h goes to 0, we're still going to have this 0 over 0 problem. So the h's cancel out, which is great. And now that leaves us with 1 all over root 9 plus h plus 3. Now h can finally go to 0 without giving us any problems. So now we have 1 over root 9 plus 3, which ends up being 1 over 6. Well, sorry, I won't skip that step. It ends up being 1 over 3 plus 3, which then gives us 1 over 6. And that is our answer for problem 21. I hope that helped.